Sunday Crunch is compiled today by Annabelle Dickson and Kate Day. Breaking: Michael Martin, former House of Commons Speaker, died aged 72, his family said Sunday. RIP. 5 things to know. Windrush fallout: debate over whether Amber Rudd should resign dominated Sunday morning, ahead of the Home Secretary's appearance in the House of Commons Monday to explain what she knew about deportation targets. Tory party chairman Brandon Lewis, her deputy and immigration minister until January 2018, admitted he had seen the key leaked memo detailing deportation targets that Rudd said Thursday she was unaware of, and told Andrew Marr he had discussed the overall ambition to increase illegal immigrant deportations with his former boss. To make matters worse, documents which suggest Rudd backs a liberal approach to EU migrants post-Brexit were leaked to the Sunday Times. Brexiteers were predictably unimpressed. London Mayor Sadiq Khan called for Rudd to go in an article in The Observer conveniently timed just ahead of local elections in the capital, and across England, on Thursday. Customs battle: friends of David Davis continue to attack Britain's chief Brexit official Oliver Robbins as senior ministers prepare to discuss the UK's customs negotiating strategy on Wednesday. The Sunday Times reports Davis has told May to start listening to her ministers, while the Mail on Sunday says Davis feels sidelined. A number of the papers and several MPs, including Brexit Minister Steve Baker and backbench Brexiteer Bernard Jenkin, got their arguments in early. Korea: the South Korean president's office announced Sunday North Korea's nuclear test site will close in May, with U.S. and its own foreign experts looking on, the BBC reported. The news comes after an historic week which saw images of the summit between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and South Korean President Moon Jae-in beamed around the world. Labour backbencher John Woodcock will appear before the party's National Constitutional Committee to answer questions about allegations he sexually harassed a female aide, the Sunday Mirror reported. Robot news: the Sunday Times reported Russian bots campaigned for Jeremy Corbyn in last year's snap general election. The paper's Insight team and Swansea University report 6,500 Russian Twitter accounts, masquerading under female English names, pushed out supportive messages. Labour MPs repeatedly said the party was not aware of automated bots, and Andrew Gwynn MP told John Pienaar, "Quite frankly, we didn't need them." Speaking of robots, the Sunday Times also reported an artificial intelligence program has found the UK Prime Minister's speeches are the easiest for robots to understand. The Andrew Marr Show takeaway: Brandon Lewis spoke to Rudd about ambition for more deportations. Paper reviewers: Green Party co-leader Caroline Lucas, Daily Mail consultant editor Andrew Pearce, and BBC chief international correspondent Lise Doucet. Brandon Lewis, Conservative Party chairman: did you get immigration targets memo? Yes, absolutely, it was a memo to me. How much Amber Rudd know? I did talk to the Home Secretary about the overall work we were doing and the overall ambition to see an increase in numbers, but not on the detailed targets. Watch. Support: when Amber Rudd says she didn't see something, I know she didn't see it. Post-Brexit immigration plan: I'm not going to prejudge what David Davis and the Prime Minister will be able to negotiate. Vince Cable, Liberal Democrat leader Rudd: I think we should wait and see what she has to say tomorrow. Either she has misled Parliament, or she was the last person in the country to know that the Home Office was operating a quota system for deportees. Watch. Brexit voters racist. After all that we have experienced in the last few weeks around the immigration debate, the ugly truth is that race has been a key factor in British politics. Watch. Immigration policy: I think the working assumption successive governments have made is that the public out there are pretty bigoted, and they've got to be given red meat in the form of these very restrictive measures. It's done a lot of harm. Local election expectation management: what I would regard as a good night is that we hold the various councils we have. I think on a good night we'll win 1 or 2 more. Andrew Gwynn, Labour's Shadow Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government. Anti-Semitism: it's been made very clear by Jeremy Corbyn that nobody should be sharing a platform with anybody who has been found guilty of anti-Semitism. That is absolutely clear. Local election expectation management: I don't think it will be anything like some of the opinion polls would suggest, because we are already defending about 80% of the seats in some of those metropolitan boroughs and London boroughs. We are already at a high water mark. Peston on Sunday takeaway: Khan calls for Rudd to go in croissant corner. Tory MP Ed Vaizey, Liberal Democrat Deputy Leader Joe Swinson, and Labour MP Kate Hoey. Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London: will you protest Trump visit? As the Mayor of London, it's probably inappropriate for me to join a protest when foreign leaders come into the UK. It's important, though, for me not to be scared to express some of my views about the things he has said. Watch. Immigration. It's ironic in this of all weeks, the architect of the hostile environment in this country has invited the architect of the hostile environment in the USA to London. Watch. Rudd should go. I think this is a question not just of competence, it's also a question of conduct. Watch. Preferential rights for EU citizens? Yes. Watch. Should Ken Livingstone be expelled from Labour? On the evidence I've seen, yes. Of course there's got to be due process, but you know there can be no place in our party for anybody with racist views. Watch. Jo Johnson, Transport Minister. Support for Rudd. Amber has got a very big area of responsibility. She's also sitting on a whole host of cabinet committees, delivering on other areas of vital government policy, including on how we make a successive Brexit so that it works for all people in this country. It's unrealistic to expect a Secretary of State to have seen every single memo. Watch. Customs. Well, what the Prime Minister has set out is two paths towards a near-frictionless trading relationship with our EU partners. Which option should Cabinet back? That's not for me to preempt Cabinet discussions or to force the PM's hand if I was able to. Gerard Batten, UK Independence Party leader, on being called racist. I think it now has become a crime whereby it's like witchcraft in the 16th century, you are guilty until you can prove your innocence. And I think that's a very dangerous thing where this word is bandied about. Watch. Preference for EU citizens. Well, most of the people that live in the EU are probably white, majority of them. So isn't that racist, to say you'd have an immigration system where you prefer people from the European Union rather than have a fair system? Watch. Ed Vaizey, former Culture Minister. Rudd. I can't pretend it has been an A+ week for Amber Rudd. I'm wishing her well, but she will have questions to answer. It comes down to how much Amber knew about the target. Watch. May and Trump. I think that Macron has given Theresa May some lessons, because I think that Macron didn't shy away from critiquing America policy, and I think perhaps actually if the Prime Minister was bolder and more sure of her views, it could play very well if she stands up to Trump on some of these important issues. Jo Swinson, Liberal Democrat MP. Can you see yourself protesting Trump visit? Absolutely, I'm very up for that. Watch. Sunday with Niall Patterson. Takeaway. All eyes on Amber Rudd on Monday. Guests: Michael Duffer, former Labour MP, now UK Music CEO; Dia Chakravarty, Telegraph Brexit editor; Baroness Newlove, UK Government Victims Commissioner; Sky psephology expert Professor Michael Thrasher; John MacDonald, Labour's Shadow Chancellor. Local elections. I think we'll have a good night, but it's difficult to predict. Anti-Semitism. Jeremy Corbyn is one of the most fundamental anti-racist campaigners, devoting his life to it, including tackling anti-Semitism. Watch. Immigration. Amber Rudd either misled Parliament or was too incompetent to manage her own department. Watch. Asda and Sainsbury's merger. It should be looked at by the Monopolies Commission. Russia interference in the 2017 election. This is ludicrous. If there's an issue here about anything in Russian influence in our society, it's about Russian oligarchs funding the Tory party. It's a classic Sunday Times smear campaign. Lord Kerslake, former head of the UK Civil Service. Amber Rudd. What I find very surprising is there wasn't some briefing to the minister when she went before the Select Committee or indeed other committees. James Cleverly, Conservative Party Deputy Chairman. Rudd. What she's focusing on is making right the situation with this Windrush generation. Watch. Conservative problem with Islamophobia. I'm very proud of the fact that we take a tough line on people who behave inappropriately. Watch. Local elections. We've seen the polling numbers. We know London is going to be a tough fight for us. The Sunday politics takeaway. Brexiteers say customs partnership not a goer. Paper reviewers. The Guardian's Gabby Hinsliff, LBC presenter Ian Dale and Rachel Shabi, journalist and commentator. Steve Baker, Brexit Minister. Customs partnership. Obviously it would require some coordination in the UK to make it work, but we are confident that this is a credible, if new, solution to this particular issue. Brexit transition. It is the government's policy that the implementation period is time-limited. We will have no facility to extend the implementation period. Jo Swinson, Liberal Democrat MP. Again, customs union. I suspect actually in Parliament, in the House of Commons, there may actually be a majority for staying in the customs union, so just because the government has said it, it doesn't make it right. Watch. Bernard Jenkin, Tory Brexiteer MP. Customs partnership. I am not particularly impressed by this new customs partnership at all. I don't think it resolves anything, and indeed, staying in the customs union doesn't necessarily mean you get rid of border checks. Vote to stay in customs union. Parliament might, but that would be a pretty unwise thing to do. That would be pitting Parliament against the choice made by the British people. Watch. Will Cabinet go for customs partnership? I don't think they are going to go for this. Blue on Blue, Steve Baker, just on your program, was probably explaining the government line, though he probably agrees with me in private that we shouldn't do this new customs partnership. Nick Cash, National Union of Rail, Maritime and Transport Workers General Secretary Grayling, it would do us all a great favor by the way if he just resigned. Watch. Rejoining Labour, my personal view, I think we should re-affiliate, but that is down to the members. Louise Haigh, Shadow Home Office Minister Rudd, Brandon Lewis effectively confirmed this morning that she deliberately misled Parliament, so with that alone she has to go. Nigel Dodds, DUP Deputy Leader Michel Barnier meeting next week, I think our party representatives have been invited. He is in no doubt whatsoever about Northern Ireland's position, so far as the DUP is concerned. Northern Ireland post-Brexit, of course we are prepared to consider pragmatic sensible areas of cooperation like the single electricity market, like the animal health products on an all-Ireland basis. That is the current position, but no British government, never mind the Unionists of Northern Ireland, could possibly tolerate a situation that you would have this border down the Irish Sea. Watch. Customs, our position on that is that we don't believe that staying in the customs union is something that delivers on the verdict of the British people. PNR's Politics Takeaway, Rudd and more Rudd guests, Paul Waugh, Executive Editor at The Huffington Post, Joe Tanner, founder of In-House Communications. Joe Tanner, tomorrow is now a really crucial day for Rudd. This goes back to the classic, you're never blamed for the crisis, you're blamed for the handling. Paul Waugh, a lot of people thought Rudd was Theresa May without the grimace. James Cleverly, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, again, deportation targets. The Home Office, like every government department, will have internal targets. It's completely right that the government department tasked with law and order works hard to deport people who are here illegally. Windrush, the cases presented or came forward as individual cases. They were never identified as the Windrush generation. For that, we apologize. Andrew Gwynn, Labour's Shadow Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government, again, Rudd, it's unbelievable that she did not know that this was her department's policy. Was Labour wrong to abstain over the 2014 immigration bill? Yes, did Russian bots campaign for Labour in 2017? Quite frankly, we didn't need them. Sarah Elliott, Chair of Republican Overseas UK. The Donald Trump is an anomaly, and his style of doing things kind of keeps people guessing and on edge. You shouldn't be listening to what he says, you should be looking at what he does. Backbencher of the Week, We're a Hub House. Week ahead Monday, EU chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier begins two-day visit to Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, including meeting Taoiseach Leo Varadkar. Fourth day of the report stage of the European Union withdrawal bill in the House of Lords. MPs to debate a public petition calling for an amnesty for anyone who was a minor who arrived in Britain between 1948 to 1971, Westminster Hall, 4:30 p.m. Local time. MEPs Daniel Hannan and Jude Curtin-Darling to give evidence to the House of Lords European Union Committee post-Brexit UK-EU Relations Inquiry, 2 p.m. local time. Tuesday, EU chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier continues his visit to Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland with a visit to Dungannon and Derry Londonderry. Brexit Secretary David Davis to give evidence to the European Union Committee, 4 p.m. local time. Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy Department questions in the House of Commons, 11:30 a.m. Local time. UK National Security Advisor Mark Sedwill to give evidence to the Defence Select Committee, 10 a.m. local time. Celebrity chefs Jamie Oliver and Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall to give evidence to the Health and Social Care Committee on Childhood Obesity, 2:30 p.m. Local time. Wednesday, Brexit Cabinet Subcommittee to meet to discuss plans for post-Brexit customs, Prime Minister's questions, 12 p.m. local time. Fifth day of the European Union withdrawal bill in the House of Lords. MPs to debate the UK Prime Minister's policy of creating a hostile environment in relation to Windrush in the House of Commons. EU Commissioner Gunther Oettinger to present the European Commission spending proposals for 2021 to 2027. Latest round of Brexit talks. Jonathan Fowle, former Director General in the European Commission, and former Clerk of the House of Commons Robert Rogers to give evidence to the Exiting the European Union Select Committee, 9:15 a.m. Local time. Former Chancellor and Chairman of the Northern Powerhouse Partnership George Osborne to give evidence on education in the North to the Education Select Committee, 10 a.m. Local time. Leader of the House of Commons Andrea Leadsom and Brexit Minister Steve Baker to give evidence on the scrutiny of delegated legislation to the Procedure Select Committee, 2:45 p.m. Local time. Director of Intelligence at the National Crime Agency Steve Smart to give evidence to the EU Home Affairs Subcommittee in the House of Lords on the proposed UK-EU Security Treaty, 10:30 a.m. Local time. Foreign Office Minister Alastair Burt to give evidence on the Middle East to the International Relations Committee in the House of Lords, 10:40 a.m. local time. Thursday, Brexit questions in the House of Commons, 9:30 a.m. local time. Friday, Parliament in recess. Rest of weekend. Good reads. Ben Judah in the Financial Times on momentum inside Labour's revolutionary movement. Japan's rent-a-family industry, by Elif Batuman in the New Yorker. Apple boss Tim Cook on data privacy, screen time and secrecy in Silicon Valley, by Ben Hoyle in The Times. Felix Martin in The New Statesman on the global recession around the corner. The deep roots of Trump's war on the press, by Politico's Tim Alberta. Sunday Crunch is compiled by Tom McTague, Charlie Cooper, Annabelle Dickson and Politico's news editors. We'd love to hear what you think. Drop us a note at tmctalk@politico.co.uk, C. Cooper at politico.co.uk, at Xan at politico.co.uk. If you were forwarded this message by a friend, you can subscribe here. You can unsubscribe there too. View in your browser.